okay.
So,
Yeah. Yes, thank you.
Cool. Alright. Do we wanna jump in or? Are people ready or?
Yeah.
Oh, are we live? Sorry.
Yes, you're live.
Thanks, Lindsay. That's great.
You're good. Jump right in.
Are you ready, Andy? I know you just got here. Are you
Sure, yeah.
feeling ready? Okay.
Yeah.
I wanted to give you a
It's a
second to
conversation, so.
settle in if you needed to. All right.
My computer gets it.
Yeah, awesome. So this is kind of, we've done a couple versions of this, I think, with you all in the past. This is really just, contract, I think, is ending in October, right? And so it's just to start that conversation and answer questions that we have or questions that you have and just
Right.
kind of figure out where we go from here. So,
Absolutely.
with that, I think it's pretty informal, so I don't know if people want to start in a
It's
certain
not this
spot.
coming October, it's a year from now, correct?
No, it's this.
No, it's
this
It is?
Next month.
Oh, I was thinking it
So-
was, we were like right on it, we were starting early this year.
So it's a 3-year renewal, right?
That is, well.
Well,
yeah,
we've done-
It's always been a 3-year
It's a-
renewal going from November to the end of October.
Right, so it's the end of the last 3-year.
Right.
Correct, yeah. The summer was the last
Full
of
summer.
that cycle.
Okay. So, yeah, okay. So I don't know if anybody has a specific starting point that we want to start at or where we want to go from here. I'm open to any sort of approach to this just to kick us off. Anyone?
It's kind of two components here, one financial, one administrative. So
Okay.
where people want to start.
I mean, I can start, but I feel like I watched that whole meeting again from last October and I was like, I think I did like 75% of the talking. So I don't want to be like the one that's like, I have lots of highlights. So, okay, I guess I'll just start. So last year, we had talked about, one of the first things that I had talked about last year was the communication piece. The fact that we, as a town, would reach out, and there was long periods of time before we would get any response. And you had acknowledged that at that meeting and said that that was something that you could see needed to be worked on. I'm just looking, like reading back through the emails that Lindsay has sent to the Y, doesn't seem like that was really taken seriously from my point of view.
Okay.
It looks like there are dates. Let's see. Monday, July 15th, Lindsay reached out asking about reservation. She sent this to you as well as Matt. She asks again on looking for updates on the 23rd of July. And then there was a response. Oh no, she asked again. Oh, sorry, these are all.
Oh, well, bottom line is there were gaps in the communication that you're concerned about.
Yeah. Lindsay had put out, one of the things was that we were trying to plan something for the Pines. We were looking for information. This is one that's from May, still looking like May 22nd, May 3rd, May 30th, excuse me. And then June 13th, she's still waiting. And then you had responded on June 18th. So it was like, to me, there's a level of respect that just, I don't feel is being given to Lindsay, the town manager, reaching out with these questions, or to the town alignment. I know I had said last year that, is this something that we needed to put into the contract, like with a specific time period? And you didn't feel like that was something that needed to be done.
Right.
if we were to go back into a contract with the Y, that would be something that I would ask to be put in there. That there was a period, like whether it's 24 hours, 48 hours, whatever, so that we know that when we reach out, we're gonna have somebody reach back out. I mean, I was looking through a few of these that, the Y sent an email to Lindsay, 4 hours later, it's done. The answer's done and out the door. It's like, okay, to me, that's a level of respect. Like Lindsay values that relationship. Here's your answer. We'll just get this taken care of right away.
Right.
That's a big issue for me.
Fair, very fair.
If anybody else has any.
I have a curiosity, kind of a question for you. Since we've had a town manager style of government for just over a year now, I'm wondering how that has that affected how you do business? Is it better communication wise? Is it better to have a point of contact? Is it, I really want to make sure that is also being respected because it is new to us too. And we had our, to come into a groove on how we operate. It was a process for us as well. And I just want to make sure that happens with others as well.
Yeah, and I think that I'll respond to the first question regarding the communications. I apologize again, and I know it's happened. I was anticipating that the point of contact was going to be responding sooner, and that's why I was expecting that those things were occurring. And ultimately, it is my responsibility to make sure those things happened, and that's why you saw my response after the time that it didn't occur. So I apologize for that to both Lindsay and to you guys as leaders of the community. I can let you know that I will be taking that personally next year. I was expecting that was the state of what it would have been, and those gaps fell again. And ultimately, it's my responsibility. So in response to that piece of it. Moving forward, I thought that having the single point of contact was phenomenal. I think Lindsay is a great communicator, very open, very quick to respond, serving our needs and being pretty open with anytime there's been a challenge along the way, whether it's with the way that things, setting things up and helping to make sure that those things were timely. Whether it's, setting up the new check-in at the booths, whether it was the getting the passes, together on time and helping us with the communications along the way has always been phenomenal. So there's no hesitation on that part to say that that's been helpful because it is that one person that we have to communicate with. If we're having communications with others along the way, that's also beneficial. But to have that one point of contact, if there is a go-to need, then we know who that is.
Nice.
I would agree with that.
Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
So my apologies in advance from misunderstanding the information that we received for the workshop. But has the attendance data from July, August, and September been submitted?
No, I thought that was already taken care of, and it has not. We'll have that to you tomorrow.
Okay. And the money collected since July, has that been submitted to the town?
That's part of the report, so it's going to be a
Okay.
combination of the report and the document check.
And Madam Chair, just
Yeah, no.
since we're talking about money here, could you provide an exact figure for how much tuition has been received by the Y for the summer camp in 2024? And also a figure for the expenses, personal.
I can let you know that we lost $30,000 this year. Yeah.
That third.
So over the last several years, camp has not been a break even, which is normally what we try to accomplish. Due to the extenuating costs of staffing, transportation, and other expenses that have come along that continue to challenge all of us. Camp should be at least a break-even point. We've not been able to hit that.
Okay.
And a lot of it is that our transportation needs and staffing. The
Thank
cost
you.
of staffing is just, as we all experience, it's just gone skyrocket, and trying to keep a reasonable cost to our members and to the participants. Even though that continues to go up also, has been a challenge to meet that need and still be able to provide a service that's going to be of good quality.
Is this still something that you wish to continue with our town?
Oh, absolutely. I think that it works well for us and seems to have been a benefit for you guys also. Of what we've heard in the past, the fact of having that exposure there and having a number of people coming in and out of that location has been of service to the community. So we feel that it's been, we put a lot of time and energy into, setting up space that would be adequate for the work that we need to have done, the usage of the fields, the accessibility to a swimming area, that's a buoyed and guarded swimming space, and the boating area, all those things have continued to, we've continued to do to help with making sure that our operations are safe as well.
I have something. The most important thing for me this year is we need to try to get to net zero for the town.
Okay.
I'm not sure how to pull that off, but I think we're going to have to talk about how we can get there and not cost the taxpayers more than what it should. I'd like to see, and I haven't talked to anybody about it, but I'd like to see some sort of checklist. Because what we're going to be doing shortly is some maintenance around there, harvesting, minor harvesting, chipping, redoing, walkways, things of that nature. So I'd like to see some sort of form stating the condition of the park infrastructure on a daily basis. Somebody walked through the park and says, that table, there's 9 nails sticking out of it. That whatever just got washed out from last night's rain, whatever it is, so that we can stay on top of it.
Okay.
That's a good idea.
We need to take down those 2x4 structures on the trees that were put up, and the nails were put in, or bolts, or however they were affixed to the trees. It's down as you go down and you take a left.
Okay.
I don't know if they were holding
Past the
canoes
bridge,
or what.
is that little space there? That's where the water-
Towards the amphitheater.
Yeah,
It's
towards
where
the
you guys put,
amphitheater.
like your kayaks and canoes.
There's brush and
Yep, I know
stuff
what
in
you
there
mean.
that they
It's right
can
at the
reach
waterfront.
in,
Yeah, that's
drag
right
it
at the
out,
waterfront
clean that up.
area where the
Yes.
boating area is.
Yes,
Okay.
if you
Do you have
could.
a suggestion of, because those can easily get taken down? We try to be friendly to the wood by using nails and not strapping them in or bolting them in.
Well, if you can just take them down for now so that the logger can come in and drag out some of that
Yeah.
brush, chip it up and clean it up.
Dave, can you pull your microphone down?
Sorry. And the other one is on number 4. Can you explain the math to me, please?
It does work out.
Does it work
Yeah,
out?
It does figure out, yeah.
Okay, well, I'll look at that later then. Thank you.
That's good.
But that would be important as far as I'm concerned, the net zero, a checklist that gets, submitted on a daily basis. Take down the 2x4s for the forest management that's about to happen.
Yeah, that's that piece of it, taking down the wood is not an issue
Yep.
at all.
Anybody?
I guess my only suggestion to you when I hear what you're saying about the inspection and like letting us know when things come up. I just think that's something that I coordinate in my regular day-to-day. And I just think if that's something that maybe we could look at as like possibly more of a weekly thing, or possibly maybe it's daily, but we don't want a daily of the same exact thing. So if there's like,
It only gets submitted if it changes.
okay,
It should be looked at every day.
right. So as
Wh-
people
what
are
we're-
walking around and noticing
Exactly.
things, see
And-
something, say something.
Exactly.
Okay. I just wanted to be clear that the expectation isn't like, hey, there's 9 nails out of this picnic, sticking out of the picnic table. And the next day it's, hey, those 9 nails are still sticking
Right,
out of the picnic
right.
table. Because it's not, as a town, I don't know that we're staffed in a way that we'll be able to immediately send somebody
No,
to deal with that.
I get that, but
Okay,
no picnic table should have nails coming out of it.
no, I wholeheartedly
I
agree. I
agree.
just wanted to make sure that we're all on the same page
Yep.
as far as like what that might look like and
Yep.
coming up with some sort of a form or way to share that information.
On some of the things that are even, to me, would be more important other than those safety items, would be to make sure that if when we get out there and do some sort of mitigation for the water runoff and things of that, was anything breached after this storm? Was that, because that's something that you want to correct, in a timely fashion so that the erosion just doesn't keep happening.
Not, also, if we would have had something like that in place, maybe we wouldn't have, we would have been able to do something about that bridge before it was so dire that we just took care of.
Yeah.
Recently.
Well, I know like the last time, Andy, when we had like a workshop and stuff and we've been working, like we updated the park management rules and had put in there just like better communication around. And I think it was, we talked about at the end of the season, like doing kind of a
Checklist.
check off. So that
Opening
is,
your
and I know, I understand if you were relying on somebody to help facilitate that communication and, it just didn't get facilitated. But I think that's one thing that I've struggled with is, we'll find out, the water, the drinking water was bad, so we went and we had it tested immediately. We had the water bleached. Now it's tested clean. So like these little things like day-to-day stuff, if it's, I know the new ticket booth, air conditioning was an issue. I'm always happy to try to like help and try to solve an issue if I know about it. And then I would say like maybe not like a daily checklist, but just that communication or something that there's eyes on these things. So we can plan and prepare, if it's a building is rotting or the picnic tables or something. I mean, we're starting to do our budgets now. So
Okay, yeah.
these are great things for us to know around this time if we have to plan for the next season. But even during the season too, if stuff comes up and it seems like we have to figure something out, I'm always on board to, try to help out. So
I'm just going to reiterate, I think it should be a daily thing.
Okay.
And the reason why is when I go on a job site, the first thing I do is walk around and I see the existing conditions. If they've changed from the day before, I make a note of it. To me, you don't know who was there the night before, a broken bottle here, something over there. I just think it's a good exercise to do it. And it's not like it's going to take a lot of time. I see the attendant there flying around in his lawnmower that, when the roads are a little bit better, he'll be able to get around a little better. So that's my
So you're
thought.
looking for a daily checklist, so when people are coming in to make sure that it's safe and at the end of the day that if there's anything that's.
If there's anything, you pass it in. If there's nothing, there's nothing.
I wonder
And I
if we
think
wouldn't,
that some of that did occur, but you're looking for something that's going to be a little bit more formal.
Yep.
To ensure that that is being, that's taken.
Yep.
And then if is some damage or if there's issues that pop up, if they're not things that we can handle right away,
We can,
then we'll communicate.
exactly.
Is that what
Perfect.
I'm hearing?
That is what you're hearing.
All right, super.
I wonder if we shouldn't consider creating a position, a part-time position for just those kinds of things to oversee in the town, like, for instance, and it's been falling on Lindsay to, like when we had the pollution at Kennybunk Pond or something tested, right, when we closed the beach, she had to go, she went, I believe, and put the signage or the rope or whatever to close that, things like that. It would be, I mean, there are things like that need to get accomplished. I don't mind helping out when I can, but I can't always, and sometimes those things need to happen faster rather than not.
Well, and I think in
And
this.
then that would also look out for the town's interest, and it wouldn't put the onus all on the Y.
Well, I think the point of having the onus on the Y, and no disrespect intended, is that we pay the Y for the onus of running the park, right?
That's what the contract's for.
Well, running.
So I don't disagree with like what you're saying about like Kennybunk Pond and places that we don't have that.
Okay. Well, just an idea, and I want to
Yeah.
throw it out there while it's fresh, so
For
it doesn't go and escape, in the gerbil wheel.
I like that, because what that ends up being in 2, 3, 5 years is a DPW position, is what that
Exactly.
turns into.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've thought of like how that expansion employment may happen. And I think we probably need to look into like public works, even if it's part-time or I don't know what that looks like right now, but certainly something that we will have to grow into as a town. And then also collaborate with the Y.
So I'm just curious, you were talking about numbers that worked out or didn't work out. Can you help me
Yeah,
understand that?
in your number.
Number 4.
Number 4, you had an amount that was given to 31 campers. And so he divided that amount by 31 and came up with a number. And he was like, is this what camp costs? But then Jeff said, well, that's for the whole summer. So
Right,
then
right, so-
when you divide that number
Yeah,
by
I can clarify
9,
Some of that, yeah.
then it comes out
Yeah, the
to the,
clarification on that is that not every kid comes to summer camp every week. And so when you're looking at those numbers, it doesn't show you the full enrollment of every week and what each scholarship, how many scholarship kids we had during each of those weeks.
Gotcha.
But what we did is we took the total, otherwise you'd have a huge list, on a spreadsheet that I honestly didn't really have time to pull together with everything else going on. But the important part, I think, for you was how many kids are going. On an average, we had 162. We had 200, a little over, I think it was 200, 202 kids that had attended our camp, whether that was 1 week or they came for all 9 weeks. It's what we call the non-duplicate list. And so that gave you an idea of how many kids were enrolled, how many kids do we have impact on. And then on a per week basis were the averages of the total enrollment. And then we gave you some information which you asked for regarding scholarship.
Mhm.
And the scholarship is what we total out and how we account for that.
Yep.
And it could be that a child could get 10%, or a family, not a child, but a family, and another family might get 55 or 60%. And occasionally there are some that, if there's extreme circumstances, someone loses their home and they need help, or there's a significant tragedy in the family that we may honor, we just say, we'll do it for free.
Do you have a written policy articulating those conditions?
So what we have is when anyone is in need, then we have them fill out a confidential scholarship form. And what it does is it shows all the individuals in a household. And then on top of that is what is the overall income coming into that household. And then they have to fill out that information, show us some documentation that shows that and qualifies that.
Mhm.
And then they are on a scale similar to some of the low to moderate income scales that you see, to where they lay into an economic scale.
Mhm.
And so based off of that is then where we align our percentage of what they might be reduced to.
Gotcha. Fair enough.
But it's a confidential information.
Thank you.
so I guess I should have worded my question differently. I guess, and this might be something that you would have to get back to us on. For me, the bottom line is we're paying, $41,000 a year
Mhm.
to the Y, and we're paying about the same amount for the upkeep. I think last year it was figured about 80,000 we spent on Bunganut. So my thought is, what I would like to know is how much does the Y make from campers at that park for total of the 9 weeks? No, no estimates, I would like to know, just roughly my math, if I take this, and it's probably not anywhere near what it is, potentially almost $350,000 that the Y makes in 9 weeks
Yeah.
of summer camp over there.
Correct.
So for
But-
me,
Yeah.
how do we as select board members say, okay, we have this venue and we're not renting it out because we're paying somebody to come in and run it. And that someone is going back to their community with almost $350,000.
We're not actually going back to our community, we're taking the expenses, we're losing money. So we're running this program which was what the town of Lyman asked us to try to do early on, so I'll give you some history. In the early stages, when this contract started, a couple of years before I was here, that was probably 2006, I came in 2008. They asked us to try to run day camp. We tried to do that, and we received, I think it was less than 20 kids from the town of Lyman to run that program. And that's total, not broken up over the entire summer where how that enrollment was. So we were not able to continue that program as it was. We did invite everyone to come join us where we were running it at the time at the Sanford Y. And then the opportunity opened up that we had a deeper conversation. We were in the middle of building our expansion, and we had had a conversation at that time with the select board back then to say, could we run a bigger camp there? Because you can't run it with 12 to 15 kids and find a staff member that's going to be there the entire time. And it's just not financially, at that point, wasn't financially manageable on our end. But to bring our camp out there and to continue to provide that service, also drawing more people potentially to Lyman and to the park who might use it on the weekends and be able to take advantage of it, which has occurred. That was an agreement that we stated that we would be able to do that. And so that's how we've continued to operate. But that, there are times that camp has generated some funds in a net in some years, but over the last several years, it is not been a cash positive situation for us.
Yeah.
So, so that's how this experience has evolved. And I think that it was a win-win for both parties in the fact that, we were drawing more people coming out there to see camp, to expose it to that opportunity for alternative usage, which is then coming through the gate and then being able to increase the amount of gate fees that we have. So that was the agreement at that time on how we came about the operations as it is now.
Yeah.
Andy, can you get us a breakdown of the past couple of years of any and all funds, whether it be from the WISE accountant or whatever? Because I know I can already hear my phone blowing up that people are going to want these numbers verified. No reflection,
Yep.
but I think if
I
you
pull it
can,
off my computer if you.
I think if you can provide that would be helpful.
And what I'll do is I'll show you the net over the last 4 years.
Okay.
Since COVID. Is that good?
Yep.
Back history.
Yeah, I think that would be great. I know from sitting on the budget for the last 2 years here, 3 years on the budget, we were never at net zero for Lyman citizens. Like, they were still putting their tax money into the park, so that's a big thing for me. So when Dave says about the net zero, that is an important piece.
And to be fair to that piece is also, from the town's perspective, inclusive of the field side and the maintenance that we do there and the rentals that we do there.
Yes,
Which excludes the Y. So I just want to be
no,
fair.
I disagree that it excludes the Y, because the Y uses the field side during park. When they run their park, they're using both sides.
Correct. What I'm saying is that there's an expense there that isn't necessarily because of the Y specifically.
We have to mow the field.
We
and
have
they
to mow
use
the field. We have to
for
do
their-
that. We have
Yes.
that contract that isn't because the Y is there. That's all I'm saying.
I think we need to spread out,
It's 50-50.
to spread out the burden amongst everybody who utilizes the field.
Correct. So that's my only point of mentioning it, is that it's not just the Y.
Yeah.
I just don't want it to seem like the Y is the only.
Yes, I'm
cost
not
in
saying,
town.
yeah,
That's
that
all.
we're,
It's the
that
park
we're,
in general, and the Y is part of that. That's all I wanted
Yes.
to clarify. Just
but if we had the opportunity during the summer to say, okay, look, we have the field side, the Y can't use it unless they pay for it, we could be renting out the field side. The field side would be generating money for the town, that then the town could be using to pay for the mowing,
Yep.
to pay for
no,
that.
I don't disagree.
That's what I'm saying,
I hear you.
you know. The other piece that you had said something about with the contract and bringing in, you know, more people. There's the piece I think it's the contract. Yes. May 1st of each year, the YMCA will begin promoting and securing reservations for Bunganut Park. I know that this was asked last year, and Matt had said that it was promoted on social media sites and that cold calls were done, but the cold calls were basically to other parks and recs that already know about the park and already come to the park.
Yeah.
So I'm not on Facebook. I am on Instagram. So I went back and I looked through the Y for the last 2 years. I didn't see one post on Instagram announcing that the pines are available for rental. I saw 2 posts about Camp Muscato, thank you.
That's not, has anything to do with, yeah.
And then 2 posts about Camp Marlin, that it was at Bunganut Park, but nothing about the pines. So I guess, again, I would like the explanation of where is the pines being promoted, other than to places that already know about the pines and already come. I don't, cold calling to Waterboro Parks and Rec. I mean, I feel like we've seen there that they come. I don't think that really needs to be a phone call that, is considered advertising. So I guess that would be another piece of it where I would like to see an actual, where it's being put out there. If it's on Facebook, I'm not on Facebook. So, I mean, I did try to look, but it said I had to log in, so. So as far as promoting the pines and, for me, I think wow, if the Y went out and really promoted the pines and was getting those reservations, that's money that is that's coming right back in for the town. It's not going to the Y, it's coming to the town. That's benefit to the taxpayers of the town.
Yeah.
But I'm not seeing where that's being done, So I guess that would be a piece that if we go back into contract, I think I would like to see where the plan is that there's going to be some advertising. And I'm not asking the Y to go out and take out TV ads or run, media stuff, but to try to bring in some other things. We threw around at the last meeting, weddings, outdoor venues, I don't know if any of that was done, to promote it. But that's a big piece where the town could benefit from renting out the pines, and it's not coming, from the campers or from the pockets of our residents, I guess.
And I just made a note to update and to actually have a formal marketing plan that'll be more clearly understood moving into next year.
Yeah.
That will also be able to easily be followed.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
And I know it was a while back, it might have been the last workshop we did last year, but I think the board had talked about at one point, I think Matt had brought up in the past that people struggle with having to pay a daily fee to get into the park when you can go to Kennebunk for free. And we threw around ideas. We haven't come up with a solid plan or anything, but if we could monetize the fields or monetize the pines, the bigger, maybe we could reduce the fees on the lakeside or something. But again, it's just, I guess we're trying to work the numbers too and make it feasible and ease into it. I don't know if you guys remember that conversation either, but.
Yeah, I vaguely remember us talking about, because that was when we increased the day rate and
Right.
the like carload price or something like that.
Yeah,
And we just kind of said, this is a work in progress to see how the numbers are gonna pan out.
It's a
That
pay-per-use
makes sense.
kind of a thing. That is what it is.
so,
It's not, I don't know, a comparison between Bungana and Kennybunk Pond, to me, is a little bit ridiculous.
Mhm.
yeah,
So,
I guess, I think what Matt was trying to say, if I recall, was like, sometimes people are like, well, why would I pay $20 here? I'm just gonna go down the street down there, you know, and that's where his opinion, it seemed to be that we might be losing on that.
I think a big answer is the people that utilize the field the most. I mean, if the numbers are still the same that when we talked about it 2 years ago when I was here, were very low. That's my opinion.
Well,
I don't
So
have
you have to
any
remember
kids
those-
there, but
in the contract, the Y has access to the field. Oh, is it Monday through Friday? Like during their camp week?
And we don't use it
So,
all day long.
we can
It's an
only-
option for us to go over and use it, so.
Right, yeah. But we can only rent out the field on the weekends and at nights. Because we don't know. We have no idea when you're using the field, so I.
so then maybe that should be a little maybe that should be looked at a little heavier and scheduled where, maybe we can grab and some extra time there to
Yeah, we'd have to know
have the
well in
ability.
advance.
Well, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Andy, just as having a camper there, I think that's typically in the morning, right? You do sports and games and archery or whatever across the street. So I think it might be a safe conversation to start having as far as like, hey, you all have access to the field from 8 to noon, and then from noon to whenever is when the town has the ability to rent it out potentially.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know exact timing, I'm just
Right,
talking
so I
out
think I
loud.
was gonna actually state a similar thing, is that, if you feel that you want certain times during the day to be able to use those fields as a source, it's a big field, it doesn't necessarily mean that we can't, if there's a portion of the field that you're going to rent out and you wanna be able to use it for that thing, that also is another way of saying we don't need the entire field. When we are out there, we use a small portion of it, whether that's for soccer, whether it's the archery piece on the far side. So there's probably a lot of flexibility in that and a lot of opportunity, if that's a direction that the town wants to go in,
Mhm.
to enhance the usage of that field. I don't think it's ever been you can't use it because it's in our schedule. We've always been, I think in the past, we've been flexible with if somebody is coming in and you need the field, then you need the field. And we
Yeah.
can adjust our schedule, especially if it's mostly, you get somebody coming in later in the afternoon. What you're gonna find, every day that field is gonna be rentable.
Right.
And have programs that are gonna be running that, you're gonna need a full-time person plus to be able to make that happen.
Right.
Which is fine, if that's a direction. But I think that there's lots of room for accommodating both needs along the way.
Yep, good.
Absolutely.
Anybody else before I jump into some?
Go for it.
Okay. So we got the forms back for the rentals for the Pines. And I know we had talked about last year, them not being filled out fully. And I guess I just have to say that while I think some improvement was done, I mean, we have this one that has, no phone number, no email address, no address. And so there's, personally, I think if something's canceled, I don't know how you feel about that, Lindsay, but if something's canceled, I don't think that we need to know about that. Like to have a sheet that just says Arundel canceled, it's like, okay. But the piece of it that I was looking at was the YMCA will not deviate from the approved fee structure. But for the Waterboro Parks and Rec, that doesn't seem to hold true.
Yeah,
If
I think
we're-
I'm sorry, go ahead.
If we're going by what is on the sheet, number of attendants, 150, it should be $300 a day, but they're only paying $250. So in my mind, that's more money that we as, doing our budget have to go to the taxpayers and say, okay, we need more money. The other piece of it was, it just says paid. It doesn't say payment date received or who received it. And I couldn't check what, like the form that we get back, like these logs, because we haven't got July and August yet.
Yeah.
So I think that, this one, I don't even know what happened here. And again, there's notes, but again, no email address, no phone number. So how does somebody like us know what's the full picture, I guess? If we're asking, I don't think that Lindsay's putting lines on here that, like, what time did you walk? I'm just like, she's not putting information on here that we don't need. And so like, we're asking for this information, we have a need for it. But somebody just says, I'm not gonna fill that out. To me, goes back to that we're supposed to be in a partnership working for both of our mutual benefits, I feel. But I feel like
You mentioned disrespect before. Do you feel disrespected that that's not being done, or?
I kind of do as, not personally, but I think like, okay, we're working together. This is what we've asked you. It's like, if I go to work and somebody says to me, this is what I'm asking you to do this. And I'm just like, okay, well, I'll do this one and I'll do this one. I'm not feeling that one. I'll do this one. I'm not going to be employed for very long.
I understand.
So that's my personal opinion. And you four can certainly express your own.
And these get sent out ahead of time, like we talked a little bit about, because I had sent these out, I don't know, April or May. So I do try to get the wise feedback, like, hey, let me know if you have questions, let me know if something's too cumbersome. And I try to do that just to give you guys an opportunity to weigh in. Because I know I've heard that like the booth staff, thought, checking off too many boxes was too much, so we tried to reduce it as best we could. But then we're also still really curious about, where the park is at, what's coming, what's going, so that we can come up with a master plan for it. So that's why I feel like the data for me is important. But if you guys ever feel like, this is redundant or this could change, I'm always open to feedback too.
Yeah, absolutely. You've expressed that. We've understood that.
To get to Amber's point on those applications, if there's no contact information at all, that to me seems like an oversight, like that should have happened, at least a phone number or an email or something. If you had to contact the person.
Yeah, so like my questions are like, okay, did this person come? Did they pay? I couldn't check, but that's literally what. Did they come? Do we know if it says booth to collect the $250? Do we know if it was collected? I don't know. I couldn't check that one either. So. And then on one email from Sarah, July 31st, got the information for the Pines. We have invoiced the Waterboro Rec and are waiting. So how does that work when you are they prepaying or they're using it and then we're invoicing them?
Honestly, I don't have that detail.
Okay.
I will go back and find that answer out, so anything that I'm not, I'm not watching every piece of this, because once again, I had someone else I was expecting to manage that. But I will go back with any questions that I don't have answers to. And I'll
Okay.
get back to you.
Yeah, I would appreciate
So,
that.
and, obviously, there's some oversights that you guys are clear on, I'm clear on, regarding the way forms were asked to be filled out. If they're not filled out, I can understand your questions and respect your questions, because I would be asking you the same thing if that was on your side. So,
Thank
I understand that.
I mean, I like to be able to go through all of this and have all of my answers so that I don't have
It's like you wore out your green highlighter from here.
I didn't, it still got some length in it.
Nice.
Oh, that was back again. That was how long it was taking to get a response. Advertise. I think that is it for me for right now. I'm sure I'll figure something out.
Do you think it would be helpful to have like a cancellation policy or something for the Pines? I don't know how the rentals, I don't know who's making the calls and who's facilitating it. Maybe they are putting notes in there like, oh yeah, they'll pay when they get to the booth and then they don't show up that day. So it's just, oh, they didn't come. But like, I'm wondering if maybe we have a cancellation policy that's like, if you reserve it, you have so
long
much,
to cancel.
time to cancel, so that it might, I
That
don't
would
know.
give us time to be able to have it re-rented if,
Oh, yeah, that's
for that,
another.
and then it wouldn't be
piece.
encumbered by somebody that didn't show up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know at the meeting last year, Matt had said that there was you guys were collecting a deposit, but then people would cancel, so then you'd have to refund the deposit,
Yeah,
that kind of,
definitely smooth
And
it
I can understand that. So yes, I think cancellation policy. And I feel like, I don't know of any other venue that you can rent out where you don't have to pay a deposit. And then at some point, it's not refundable, because we're holding that for the day. And if people are just, we don't know, but if they just don't show up and it's, to collect $250 at the booth. Are you all right, David?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, the only thing I could think of is like severe weather, might be. And
Yeah.
so maybe that's factored into the policy, in events of
Right.
severe weather, it's
Yeah.
not
But I think
trickle
you
of
have to-
rain.
you have to realize that severe weather is an exception, you have to define.
It's,
it.
Yes.
yes,
Yeah,
exactly,
exactly.
yes,
So there's some,
yes,
room for
Thank you.
discretion on that. You
Yeah.
have to just make sure that we're clear on, and that the people that are renting it are clear on, whether that's,
yes,
the day before that, or however many days prior to, you get cancellation, the closer you get to it, you're losing more of your deposit, or
Yeah.
all of your deposit,
Yeah.
or whatever that might be. If that's a 50% down to be able to cover the spot at the time.
Yeah.
Then, and it's a $300, then you at least recover the 150, depending on when they cancel.
yes,
Because the likelihood of being able to reschedule that anytime prior to, most of the people that are renting are renting in advance
mhm,
with time, because they know they want a bigger space, they have a bigger gathering, they want to have
Yeah.
something that they can count on.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's another thought of, if you're going to go in that direction, that might be something to consider.
yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Did you get any pushback from any people that came that were disappointed that there was no Rusty Grills in the
I think
vicinity
just
of
in
the
the
beach?
beginning, a couple people were, where are the grills, right? And.
They're still in the picture, I think, is why.
Yeah,
That's the feedback I got. They were in the picture or listed on the
yeah,
site
and they were
or
counting
something.
on them.
I
You know,
think,
but they had no idea how bad they were and how much of a safety issue. So when we got there, it was like, well, you know, it's actually a safety issue. And in all honesty, with the dry weather we had this year, I wouldn't have wanted girls to be starting out here anyway. So why would you guys? Because it was just too much of a issue with the wind blowing and potentially catching it on the grass or catching it in the woods, even though you're right next to there. They're not, you know, there are spots that are close to the woods. It wouldn't take much to ignite something this past one summer. So it's also, you know, on your end, that's a call you guys can make it on a safety basis, you know, for them to bring in their own small propane tank is probably a lot safer than charcoal grill, or some people were using wood to burn. You know, that doesn't extinguish when you turn it off. And people don't necessarily take the time to extinguish it in the right way. If you want to make you know, and I've seen this at other parks, that you're welcome to bring your own, you know, grill in that it's a propane-based thing, but no charcoal, then that's an open flame that can be controllable. I think you might be able to help resolve a sense of safety and also accommodating the potential needs here.
Or we could call Subway and just have them deliver.
Yeah, I know Bob really well. He might, you know, be helping.
Uber Eats.
Uber Eats.
is there anything about our agreements in the past that you have any desire that you would want to change?
No, I just
Or-
think that I would also want to, a couple of things that I had here, were just some things that we were trying to work out this summer that just didn't facilitate in the same path. You know, the situation with the phone, you know, there's no connections in any of the buildings. So it got run to the line, but not to the buildings, is that correct? We could not find any line into either the,
I think the booth got disconnected, but we have someone going out there who was gonna reconnect it,
okay.
the jack, yeah.
Yeah, so, and we couldn't find one in the mansion, which
Yeah.
is what we thought, maybe it's out there, but it wasn't in there. So we didn't have that. I also know that the drinking water piece was an issue for us along the way, having to bring potable water in for all the campers. But, you know, we made that work, and that was the system that we've always had in the past.
Well, and the drinking water issue was brought up to me while I was walking around with our engineers. We have hired Acorn their landscape architects.
Yes,
So we did a little tour, and one of your staff happened to be there who just happened to. So it's the first time I ever heard of the drinking water issue,
okay.
at least, and I haven't been here that long.
Right, yeah,
So
exactly.
maybe it was mentioned, you know, years prior before I got here, but we have bleached it. We bleached the well, and we tested it before, we tested it after. So now the drinking water is clean and safe and everything.
Is that part of your testing of the pond water moving forward too?
Yes.
So that, because we know that the source of that water
Mhm.
is, you know, on the other side of the street, and that's where the water flows into the well, which is.
Well, the well's up by the mansion.
I know that, but I think that the piping for that, if I'm correct, and I could be wrong.
No.
But I think comes across the street,
No.
near the ball fields.
No.
So there's a little, no, it's not?
No,
Okay.
no, that's a drilled well.
That's a
That's a
drilled
drilled
well.
well.
Yeah.
Totally misunderstood.
Okay.
Okay, super, then we can. move
All,
forward.
that line is to refeed the supply up there so that they can water the lawns.
Okay, I thought it was all
Irrigation, yeah.
connected. Okay, great.
But sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's okay. No, it's just clarification on it, because I think that was part of the concern we had was, you know, was it safe enough for the kids to
Yeah.
drink? Because we didn't want to get into an issue with our licenses and certifications. So, and then, of course, you know, the challenge this year with the new booth, I think that, you know, there were definitely some challenges around getting that air conditioner in there sooner. Would have been helpful. We tried to do everything we could to keep it cool in there. But everything we did was not working. We had,
I was not getting communication from Matt
okay,
on the air conditioner.
okay,
So it was never brought up to me. I know that I asked you guys, we had a meeting, we were sitting at the picnic table. I asked you because I've heard rumors, but the YMCA didn't contact me to tell me that there was an issue. And maybe, again, maybe you weren't aware of that. So, but that's why I brought it up when we were talking. And then I had, the communication got kind of garbled up a little bit because I had a contractor who was gonna like cut a hole and put the air conditioner in. So they're trying to reach Matt. Matt wasn't communicating. We were told, well, we'll just use the old AC. Then nobody could find the old AC. And so it was just, it kind of went on for about 2 or 3 weeks. So, I mean, I felt awful because your staff had to work in the booth and
It was.
we're
Fuck.
definitely gonna talk about during budgets, like maybe getting it insulated or something, but I was certainly making an effort to get AC, but I wasn't being told there was an issue.
Okay.
If you can
That's fair.
understand, yeah.
We'll just
So,
accept that, and yeah.
Yeah.
seems like our issues are communication
I'm
related,
feeling
like
the same way
our,
right
like
now.
our in so many other avenues of life as well.
And I know this is, once again, this was something that we did emphasize and we discussed last year, and I'm disappointed that we're back to this table again, having this deep of a conversation around communication.
So how are we going to deal with the picnic tables that are in distress over there?
So the ones that are in distress, if you, at any point in time, remove the ones, we've been fixing some along the way. This year you got 13 new ones. And, I think others that are in distress, if we feel that they are in question, I think the level of question of what is considered safe for you guys would be the one piece that we have to do at the beginning of each year. Is take a look at those and say, yeah, we gotta get rid of this one, or all it needs is an extra board replaced. Yeah, no,
That's minor compared to like three-quarters of them like that, and you can look them up, there's screws everywhere.
okay,
Yeah, and I was told when we bought the new ones, I was told that the Y was gonna paint them. And then they didn't get painted last year. So this year I asked Matt, do you want us to get the supplies or do you guys want to get the supplies and you just give us the receipts? He said he would get the supplies and give us the receipts. So there are some that still need to be painted. And then, I know they're wooden picnic tables, they're gonna get
Yeah.
in disrepair and stuff.
we paint them with a stain so that it's not
Yeah.
painted all the time. Or that's what we have in the past.
But there are, I think, 12 or 13 that haven't been painted yet. And I mean, again, if we need to figure out how to facilitate that, we will. I need that to be very clear. But I was told that the Y was going to get the supplies and they were going to paint them. And if that's not the case, like totally okay, and I'll figure something out. I just,
Okay, well, obviously, there's a
Paint party in the parking lot.
breakdown in that communication.
Yeah.
And I'm not pointing fingers at you by any means. I'm
Sure.
just saying that there's, a breakdown of that end of it. If you want those to be painted before, I think last week or today, they were put up against the trees and locked in. But if you want those painted before winter flies, I will make sure that happens.
I think that would be the
I will-
best bet.
I will make sure that will happen.
We want them to last as best we can.
Yeah, and if you're okay with that, we'll go get the supplies still and give you a receipt for the stain.
Yeah.
That's okay.
yeah, whatever supplies you need. And then I know we talked a little bit, again, when we met at Bungana, we talked about some of the picnic tables that were in disrepair. And I think you guys said like you needed 5. So again, that'll be part of our budget discussion too. I was gonna bring up like, hey, we gotta replace some entirely. And maybe some just need to be like fixed or something.
Well,
But I think once again, we can either do it now and we'll do a walkthrough,
Mhm.
take the ones that are not good, just get rid of them. We can have a big bonfire, roast some marshmallows together. Or we can do that next spring to make sure that they're handled. I think now is not a bad idea because at least you're getting them out of the way and you're identifying a safety issue.
I think it would be better for budget also
That
do it
and,
now
That-
rather than later.
yes, that and the fact that we're going to have people working down there to clean that area up. I'd rather them out of the way than let them have to deal with it.
Yeah, they are up out of the way, I think.
Oh, no, not the ones that are bad. The ones that are bad, you
I
can't.
think, I'll double check, but I think that all the picnic tables regardless were put upright and tied, chain tied, cabled up.
So the ones that are in the pines that I saw, they were in pretty rough shape.
Okay,
Where are they?
I will check on that. I think either Friday or this morning. I have not had a chance to check with the staff that are working on it. We're probably in that same area, leaned up against a tree and then moved in.
Okay,
I'll double check on that.
please.
Also for budget purposes, if we're, we're discussing things. I see in the part of the contract about payment, the $41,000 in 22, 23, and 24.
Mhm.
What are you thinking your budget request would be to move forward for the next 3 years?
Yeah, I'm not seeing an increase, and the reason is that the leveling off of salaries is fairly leveled off. So I will have to go back to look at what the end of this year looks like, because that would have been happening next week for the September final tracking of our financials. And then at that point, I would be able to give you a better idea. But as far as I can tell, the cost of staffing is really the big expense. And I have not finished that analysis.
Thank you.
And when you're done with that, you'll also have the financials for the past 4 years?
Yeah, for Varga?
Yeah.
Yes. I handed those last year too. I think we're handed out.
Okay.
For the 3 years prior to, so I'll do that for you. Yeah. See if there's anything else. I think the other items that are obviously probably already identified in your list of things would be, the parking lot, continuous erosion issues there that are challenging. And they're constantly challenging because the storms we had this year were severe and significant. But it does seem to be something that is happening more often to us in this area with severe storms, and it just takes one big storm to really begin to create the ruts and things that are there. If you're looking for other items to consider, I think some sort of a rail system going down the steps would be also a good idea, at least on one side. So those individuals that have a little bit more of a challenge getting up and down, even though we have an area for them to walk around.
Are you talking about those, the
Steps
main,
Yeah.
the main, I
Going
think,
out to the field.
I think it's the goal, hopefully, before you open, that those are gonna be gone.
Okay.
You
So
know,
then
that's what we're hoping
what is
anyway, aren't we?
How are you going to
Yeah.
support, even though you have a new road to go down and drive down for handicap accessibility?
There'll be, the trails will be worked on so that they'll be easier of a
Maneuver around
slope.
instead of a steep slope going
Yes.
down, which is part of the challenge.
Yep.
Okay, and then if you're looking at that, obviously, I think if you are heading to the left of the stairwell, before you get going down the stairwell,
Yep.
you've got that path to the left.
Yep.
Where there's that old bathroom.
Yep.
And I would remove that, and then I would eliminate that trail that's right there that goes down to the bridge, rather than having them come around and do a loop, because that trail is very rocky and unstable. Do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah, so, that to me would be another way of helping to secure the safety issue around it.
So did I just hear that you were going to get rid of the bathroom, or
No.
we're getting rid of the bathroom?
And I can knock it over for you, because it's probably just gonna take a little push,
Yeah,
but at that point in time, yeah.
No, that,
Okay.
that booth was a little bit more stable than we thought when we tore it down.
Yes, yeah, the booth was actually, pretty well built, so.
okay.
I'm surprised.
So we want to continue to, I think, be able to work together, clean up the things that we've talked about, really pay attention. I will pay attention more to this in the future, and help to minimize the communication breakdowns that we've had this year. I think that just as a note of things that, over the years of what we've done and trying to help with being good stewards there, the two big bridges, we've done a lot of work down there on bridges and trail work to help with trying to keep those things in order. And the walkways that are now going from the volleyball court over to the Pines is another investment that we have continued to, feel that we owed to helping us as part of that partnership. So we're not against continually moving forward in that direction. And I think that, we just hopefully better, more successful partnership in the future. I'm trying to see if there's anything else here. I think that there are some minor things in the booth, the way that it was built and the challenges that the booth staff have mentioned to us, beyond the, the comfort that they were dealing with, is the visibility from the front window is difficult if you are standing or sitting next to the booth with a window, so the slider is to speak with people. So it's hard for people to see them coming in and out of the road. But also there's no window in the back to be able to see clearly what's happening behind them. So I don't know if there's a possibility of putting a window in there or a window in the door.
Would
That would be more likely, wouldn't it?
would mirrors help?
Mirrors could probably do a big help on that too.
When we had the vandalism at the booth, it was with the door and one of the windows, and it cost, the quote we got just to replace the door and the window was about as much as it cost to replace the entire booth.
Mm.
So I think when I know Matt had brought that up, that there's not a window on the back door. So I had asked him, put in writing any issues that you come up with so we can track it and document it. And I haven't heard or seen anything throughout the season. So I don't know what type of issues they're running into. But also I thought when we had if sometimes you have two booth staff there, depending on your staffing, and I don't know if it's, totally impossible that, one does like a little walk around or if that
Yeah, and
helps.
that is the policy, that they're not just both sitting in there the entire time.
Right.
Playing cards or something. Their one is supposed to be out moving around, and it doesn't have to be every minute,
Mhm.
but they are to be going out, walking around, checking the activity level, identifying any issues, helping, working with patrons that are coming to.
I like the mirrors idea though.
Yeah,
I mean, we can look into a new door. It's just, it will be probably costly, just as costly as much as the booth.
like the ones you see on the school buses, so the bus driver can see.
Yep.
Something like
They're
that.
fairly inexpensive,
Yeah.
very useful.
Yeah, one that can stick out the window.
So you can be going to need probably internet access to keep it running.
But I do agree we'll need to insulate the booth though, because I mean, I think we put in a new air conditioner and I don't think it's ever gonna.
And it was long periods of time this year that were extremely hot. So-
I was there a number of times and it was,
Well, that's on
none of
the
us
beach right
would
on
have
it.
been wanting to sit in that booth with 85 plus degrees in that building.
Yeah.
So, and I would say that, part of the challenge is finding the right combination. But whether you have one door and one window, or two doors, or one door and three windows, the if people want to get in, they're going to get in, bad enough. And, our goal in the past has been to leave it, at least visible, so people can see that there's nothing in there of any value for them to want to break in. But regardless of that, we know that there are individuals that are just not interested in doing anything but, creating chaos.
Well, and it was a cost. It wasn't like,
Okay.
well, we didn't want to put a window in. It was just, I think it came down to cost.
Okay.
I
Right,
know
and
we had
obviously the replacement
many.
of that cost.
Yeah, we
talked
talked
about
to
it
that
for like
thing
3
for
months.
a long.
What types of windows and egress windows and all kinds of stuff. So yeah,
Yeah.
we talked about it for about 3 months before we figured out what type of booth we were getting.
And so to get back to communication, this input would have been nice to have when we were looking at
Well,
the
And
shed
I don't
and
think we
talking
necessarily
about it.
reached
I don't
out
think
to
we
ask the
solicited.
why, because it was.
Okay.
I'm just saying this,
Yeah.
just to,
we should have. but
We should have.
So that's all right.
but we can rectify what we can and
Well, and I think there's, like we just talked about, there's ways of keeping it inexpensive to retrofit to still meet the needs.
Yeah.
Most importantly is the air conditioner, which you can put in, and if you're looking to help with efficiencies, then yes, I would definitely recommend doing some insulation in there, or you're gonna be running that.
that won't be
that
too
heat.
difficult to do.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and it's a small building, so you're right, it probably wouldn't be
Do it.
all that difficult. And so I think that that's more of just our, trying to be clear on some of these items. to help with strategizing how to best move forward.
Anyone else on this table have anything?
Just a quick one. Now, Andy, you said that the attendance data and the amount collected forthcoming.
Say that
That
again.
the attendance data,
Yes, that's all set. I thought it was already sent in and with a check.
oh, it has.
I thought, but obviously you have not received it, so if it's not been sent, I will have it brought.
Do you know how much the check was for?
What's that?
Do you know how much revenue was
Um,
collected for 2024?
I want to give you a number, but I've had so many numbers in my head, I can't remember. And I don't want to misquote something and promise something that
Okay.
is interpreted as being, neglectful.
But as of the end of June, it was 11,590?
Yeah.
Okay. Just
Yeah.
to give
So
us an idea. I'm sorry?
I'll have all that information to you
All
tomorrow.
right, thank you.
All right, absolutely. So does this group have a sense of the intent of moving forward? Can you help me understand? I'm hearing a lot of extension, but I'm just kind of curious are we moving forward? What's the,
Moving forward with signing with you for, I mean, personally, I think I am, but I'll be honest, I think I don't know about 3 years. I think that's a little far right now, only because of what the committee for Buggernut has planned for there. I mean, I'm not looking to tie your hands for your future plans, but that's just my thought until the committee really
Didn't figure that.
helps out where the direction that they want to take it. That's just my only concern.
I don't think that would impede another 3 years. Because even if you have a grand scheme of things, it's not all gonna happen in a week or even a year. I thought 3 years would be appropriate.
A 3 year
Personally.
signing, you're saying? A contract,
To
another
continue
3
this
years.
For 3 years from now, because by then, we're gonna have a lot firmer of an idea of what's going on, what the budget numbers will be, and what we'll be able to actually to do, but all of that stuff will benefit the park itself. But I don't see how that it would impede what they're doing. That's just you said that's what you were thinking. You didn't know what we were thinking. That's what I'm thinking. So,
that's fair, that's why I asked the question. Just wanted to get a sense.
but going forward from there, I don't know what that looks like yet, because I don't know we don't know exactly what all we're exactly doing. So,
Well, between that and getting to a net zero for the taxpayers is where my head's at.
yep,
Um,
and
Good.
rightfully so. I mean, I like that idea.
I mean, I'll be completely honest, I don't know. At $41,000 a year, when we still have all the other expenses that we're paying, to go into a 3-year contract,
Mhm.
like, so say we sign another contract and it's 3 years, and then we come back and we're at next October or end of September, and we're like, okay, well, we're still talking about communication. I guess for me, I would say, I would think okay, let's do a 1-year contract and see how we can work together to make this more mutually beneficial. There are some things that I looked at in the contract that I would change, there's, if items aren't corrected in 14 days, I would probably change the length of that, I mean, it goes back to the community. without that communication, there's a lack of trust.
I'm
And I
sensing
get-
that now, that's
and
why I'm asking the question.
Yeah, and I guess that, I don't know if I would be comfortable going into a 3-year contract with this, with the lack of trust that I have right now.
Mhm.
And that's just my honest opinion. I guess I would need you to convince me, how would this benefit the residents of Lyman? And as we're now holding, from what I understand, the last payment,
Mhm.
because we haven't received July and August, according to the park management, it says in the contract that it's paid out $13,300 for July, August, and September, and then in October, you get the smallest payment.
Right.
I would switch that around. You get the small payments in the front, and we hold the bigger payments in the end.
I can understand that, but
That-
I would debate that to the fact that those expenses are still being put out on a monthly basis to cover the
I-
cost of staffing.
I think there's
I
ways to
So I-
add language
Yeah,
to
I
a
am,
contract to hold it more
Would you like to-
specific.
Would you like me to, I can text Sarah to see if she will respond and let you know how much is coming in this last check.
I mean, for me, it's a moot point right now.
Correct, okay.
Because I would have rather have had that information to be able to have, like when we get that information, I want to go through it, but I have a feeling that what we're going to see is more forms that weren't filled out correctly. More questions about, oh, who collected this? Hopefully not, but I'm going to be honest, I'm not feeling trust.
Yeah, you have that.
you
I
know?
appreciate that, yeah.
So, I mean, that's where I'm coming from.
Mhm.
I think that there should be in the contract, like if there's words or things, I feel like if things aren't done to the contract, then that's why I don't think we should lock ourselves into a 3-year contract. If we can't even prove that the last 2 years of the contract, there have been pieces that just have been out the window.
What if there was language about, renewing it for 3 years, but on a year-by-year basis, as long as these things are met? And then we work on, that gets improved. Because I totally respect what you're saying, but if we decided, nah, we don't want to do this anymore, then what do we do?
Well, I mean, this is
In
why we
in a
would
sense,
have,
so this is a process,
yeah.
and
And this would be the same, we would have to sit down, we would have to have a workshop, we would have to figure out what to do. We have from October to opening in May we would have to try to figure that out.
I think we should try, if that's the case, that should, I don't know if that's enough time to figure it out and put everything into place.
I mean, we
I don't
do
know
have, I have the contract right here. But I know we usually,
There's language in there.
yeah, we do put language in there. If there's a breach of contract, then one party can terminate from the other. Usually it's like, within 30 days notice or something like that. I guess I think what Amber's concern, it sounds like, is, have we ever terminated a contract? I mean, and we've been having conversations, you guys have been great coming out to our workshops and stuff like that. And so I'm on the fence either way, but it's not my decision either, so.
Well, and I think when we talk about how we ever terminated a contract, I don't know that we haven't been in the position until this year of having a town manager and having this kind of, park management rules were new this time around too, right? Like,
Well,
these are all things that have been
it's been like,
moving.
yeah, it's been like 2 years for
Right.
me because, yeah, we didn't have a town manager before, but we have had communication with the Y and we
Yeah.
did update the forms and update park management rules and express to them like, this is what, we would like in return.
And we were already in the contract that exists when those conversations were being had. So I'm kind of in this weird in-between spot, whereas what would we do if we didn't do this right now? Because I think I could foresee, and I might not even be a part of it at this point, but like we talked about a potential DPW type of a worker and getting to a point where our town has that. We don't have that now. And I just feel like that's a lot to bite off, and I don't know that it's enough time, and I don't know that who manages those people and how does that, it's this whole other layers and layers of things
Yeah.
that it sounds really great and really easy, and let's just do it and save some money. You're not going to just save money that way. You
Still gonna
won't.
cost money too.
So my point of saying that all out loud is I think that it's a phased kind of approach where we take a lot of this feedback that we've all talked about together and we work that into the contract and we work that into very specific outcomes so that it's documented and it's clear. And then we work through holding that accountability. That's where I'm kind of at on that.
And it sounds like
That makes
Andy's like
sense.
looking to kind of iron out these details, and so, maybe we, decide on a consensus tonight, and then I can start creating what that contract might look like. So we can start reviewing it, and you can have a copy of it, and there may be some more back and forth, So, I guess the consensus is either 3 years or 1 year, and
Well, I think there's ways to write that similar to like a union contract, right? It's a 3-year contract or a 1-year contract with 2 1-year renewals that get renewed. You review that. Like this is our review conversation.
Yep.
So we're
That's
not
fair.
locked
That's-
in, and
that's
you
fair.
all aren't locked. Like it's a continuing conversation. That's how I see this. Like, and I think that language is kind of, in a way, it's already in there as far
It
as
is kind of,
Yeah.
it's not spelled out like that necessarily, but it's in there that like, hey, if we just mutually agree that Lyman's going this way or the Y's going that way, then, here's where we're
Yeah,
at.
it's like
But
the plan in that contract and the way that it's written was that it gives both parties fair time
yeah,
to adjust to the planning that needs to go around that. Whether
absolutely.
that's, that we don't move forward and, you guys are having something else go on, well, I start planning my budget now, like you guys are. And I start planning for hiring those staff
Yep.
and managing that.
And you have
Finding that
to.
management team that's going to help with making sure that things are improved. And, also the whole idea around the camp piece too, is that, if that's going to be the case, how does that affect the big?
And I
picture
just
there?
wanted to go on the record, because I know people watch YouTube, by having that conversation of where Lyman might be in the future, I would hope that the camp still stays there, because I think it's a great
think it's
experience
been
for the kids, and I think it's a good opportunity to have somebody there, and then the town navigates that moving forward, whatever that looks like. So I just want to be clear, I'm not saying like, no more Camp Marland, I would never say that, because it's been
Well, that's,
incredible.
that's part of, that's part of the relationship we've had, is that opportunity to run it there for that exposure, for that
Yeah.
opportunity to bring more people into the park. But it's also, is a valuable opportunity for us to run it, at the park.
Yep.
But it's, I can tell you right now, it is not an easy nut to crack.
For sure.
I agree that it has been a tremendous benefit to the town, notwithstanding the concerns. I mean, that's, to me, the benefits outweigh that, but there's ways that we can improve things. All of us together, both of us together, with the communication end and the things that we talked about. I think that we need, action on that. I mean, I totally respect Amber's concerns.
Oh, and I do too,
But
but I don't want you to think that I'm ignoring these concerns of yours. I do respect what you're saying. I'm not disagreeing by any means that we've.
And I appreciate
Okay.
that. I do appreciate that. You're not giving any excuses. I do appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's my big piece, because, when
And you have the
somebody,
right to feel that
when somebody
way
says,
based
oh,
off
I'm
of
sorry, but then you turn around and you do it again, oh, I'm sorry, and then I'm like, okay, I'm.
Rightfully so.
Madam Chair? I think a couple of things could be explicitly placed into the next contract as conditions to address one of Amber's concerns, a time period in which responses have to come from the Y, 24 hours, 48 hours, something like that, in any type of communication. To address Dave's concern, maybe something along the lines of a specific condition that daily inspection of the facility would be conducted, and timely reporting of any kind of maintenance requirements would be sent to the town. Something along the lines of, Andy mentioned a marketing plan maybe plugging that explicitly into the contract to promote the existence and the use of Punkin Nut.
Mhm.
And Amber, to address another situation too, that rental forms, any type of forms are filled out in incomplete. Aside from the issue of respect, I also think it exposes us to the town to some liability. We don't have the contact information for whoever is reserving the facilities.
Yep.
And Jessica, I like the idea of making, or maybe modifying the conditions of renewal that already are in the contract, so it's a year-to-year basis. And also maybe you just emphasize that the existing contract states that the Y will turn over all park admission fees to the town on a monthly basis. As obviously that was not fulfilled this time around.
Got it done.
Hold on. You all
I'm good.
I was just gonna recommend the field use conversation we had. So maybe, because I think it says in the contract right now, like, it's not very clear, it's kind of vague, which is probably why we're just like, oh, they use it Monday through Friday. So maybe we'll clean that up so it's not so, you know, if I'm not in this position or somebody else is overseeing it, they understand pretty clearly that you guys are willing to work with that around the scheduling and stuff for field use.
If I may, when a holiday, whether it be Columbus Day or whatever they call it now, you know.
It is Columbus Day.
Sorry,
Too.
sorry.
Don't work at
No.
a university and it shows.
I know. Say it obviously falls on a Monday for the most part. Does that benefit your camp? It's over actually, right? But anything that you're there, if a holiday or a special day ends up on the day that you are there, can that, if there is any, can that be dedicated to marketing a soccer tournament? Or
Yeah,
is that-
the only day in the summer that's an issue for is 4th of July. And
so
we don't open on 4th of July.
okay.
So that, yeah, so that's the only thing that I see as a holiday.
There's nothing,
yeah.
you
But
don't,
if
you're
you
not
wanted
in
to
May.
If you wanted to plan a soccer tournament for a weekend, because in the summertime, you're probably not gonna get a lot of people if you're doing it other than a weekend.
Yeah.
Right.
If you know that you want to take a Friday and utilize the park at noon, or the fields at noontime,
Mhm.
you know, that's already something that we've always had that conversation about. If there's a special event that's going on, we just need enough time to be able to shift our anticipated plan around
Okay.
to accommodate that. And so, you know, that's the other piece of it. And vice versa, if something is scheduled and you say, all right, we want to have access to the field at 2:00, and yet you don't have anything going on that afternoon, and you're still okay with us using the field, then that's the same sort of thing. It's a mutual, open conversation that we have to make sure that, you know, if there is going to be something that's going to be different than what is expected, then we can work together around what that looks like.
So in turn, if somebody planned a soccer tournament, and there's 5 teams, 6 teams, in the interim, I would imagine they're gonna wanna utilize the water side of the property. How would that interfere with you?
So I would say that depending on the size, Buckernut's a pretty big space, and all that often, using the playground because it's a public area. We do use it, but it's easy for us not to use it on a day of that nature. And then, of course, the waterfront area is a space that is clearly defined as ours, why we're there, because we lifeguard it. And that we would not be permitting any public, as we do now, to use it during that time. And so I would suggest that for you also, that that's not a space that you allow people to go and use, because once again, it's outside of the norm of visibility if something happens, just like you don't have lifeguards now, and that risk is minimal because you've got signs up to say, you know, like, but if we were running camp that day, it depends on the size of the program. And also, you would want to, as if it was me, I would want to know, or have some rules around, is those fees including the usage across the street
Right.
or not? And if it's not, then they don't have that access unless they want to come over and after, you know, spend some money, which now generates revenue on your end, to be, you know, if you want to come over, here's the additional cost for that as a family. Some may take advantage of it because it's right there, some may not.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. We have two people that are on the Buckernut Park Committee that we just wanted to be able to ask questions to, so I just want to give them a chance. Yeah.
I'm Karen. So as part of the Bungana Committee, we're looking, of course, at bringing in revenue to try to offset some of the expenses to the town. And we're looking at ways of doing that. One way is to create a third section of the Pines. And I'm wondering if you or anybody in your organization would have a sense for demand of the Pines. Have you ever turned anybody away from the Pines because it was full, it was already occupied?
I think it's minimal, because the usage of the Pines for the larger groups is not significant yet. But I think that's also part of the environment that's there. I think that, and we've talked about this, if you're gonna have some funds to spend, if you put a pavilion down there, that would increase, because now, that would increase the usage and it would increase the interest, because now you've got an inclement weather situation to help take care of that problem. So if that's something that you could do, then I would say that the demand would increase. Whether there would conflict on a full day basis. And if you did have that, you're also now charging more money because you now have a pavilion.
And
So-
where would you put the pavilion?
That's a really good question. I would say that you need to go to whether you can even do it, because
Yeah.
what's the setback for?
Okay, I just thought maybe you had
EPA.
something in your
No,
mind.
I
All
don't.
right.
But I think that I think if you, depending whether if it's an open pavilion and you're not putting and once again, I have no idea of this. I just done what we dealt with in building the Y next to a river.
Well, there's a setback
There's a
requirement,
setback.
I'm sure.
And whether you could even do that if it's because of the wetlands that it surrounds, it might just need to be pylons and a dirt base rather than a concrete base.
Mhm.
So, which is
Well, we're
still,
hoping to fix that too.
Yeah.
So,
so yeah, I would say that that's an opportunity. But it's also an opportunity if you have another one in the field that is usable and rentable.
right, okay. Other things we're looking at, just so you know, is, a fee schedule for the field side to bring in more revenue, increase the Pines as well. Another opportunity we have is potentially to do kayak paddleboard rentals at some
Okay.
point in the future.
Yeah.
Is that something that the Y would have the capacity to take on in terms of renting, handling the
Yeah, I don't
transactions?
see that being an added difficult piece of renting. We have staff there. We would have to work out how to maneuver that and where you want to keep it so it's safe.
Yeah.
And then how to make sure that they are returned and all the liability around it.
To make sure the waivers are filled out.
Yeah,
Waivers are filled out.
Completely.
The other piece of this too, is I think that if that's the case and you go in that direction, we would definitely need some sort of a access to Wi-Fi there, because you're gonna want to take money down on a credit card for your equipment.
Right.
So I would go to someone else that is a rental person and get their ideas. I'm sure, I probably could just Google it. and find
yeah,
a form.
Alcoholics
Yeah,
could
yeah.
probably help us out.
Yeah, so I would
Okay.
say that those are some things that you would want to be concerned about. And of course, securing that equipment to a point where it's not going to get pulled across the lake somewhere.
Right,
And
okay,
especially where you don't have a lot of visibility there, whether that's an indoor space or not. We've locked up our kayaks and canoes and we haven't had any issues with those, but it only takes once.
Yeah.
And I would say you definitely would need a larger building for the equipment, not just the boats, but all of the paddles and the life
Like
jackets
vest.
and other things that you're gonna wanna have part of that, because you're gonna need something that's secure and stable, because that's the piece that would easily walk away. You
Okay.
can't lock those down, I mean, from just outside.
Okay, thank you. For the town side, if you're gonna invest in more picnic tables, I would just request that you look at doing more wheelchair, elderly accessible tables, because I think there's maybe only one down there now. And I think that's all my questions. Thank you.
And mentioning the accessibility for handicap, it would probably be handy to have, we were talking about accessibility coming down to the lake and that, in the field, is that we know that that field is, doesn't drain well, it holds water. But I would say that at the end of that path that you have as the road for the handicap, that you have some sort of actual parking spot where somebody can easily pull in, back up, and then head out. Even if it's 2 or 3 cars, that would make a world of difference. So that we don't have the challenge of them backing up onto unidentified driving areas.
We're hoping to deal with that before next year.
Oh, good. And you know that coming down the road, when it first hits the field in the lower section, gets pretty saturated.
Yeah, that's whole thing's that's why one of my comments was Matt was supposed to attend the meetings with us even by Zoom and couldn't he's busy. It'd be nice if maybe someone touched base with us for the Y every now and then at our meetings. We try to meet monthly or every 3 weeks. We have a lot going on, taking care of the bog area, down to even hopefully having bathrooms there. This is how big we're trying to look at things. We do have things that come into play that, like right now, my biggest concern is our park is ranked poor. We had someone come and look at the whole park from someone we're trying to get a grant for,
Okay.
and we're ranked poor. I mean, bad. And that's under the guise of this management. I mean, maybe you don't get there very often, but those picnic benches are atrocious. 3/4 of them, I would not let my kids sit at. Great baby grabs it like that, they're going to get a handful of nails and rotted wood. It's just,
Wonder,
you have workers working there. I don't know how they walk past that and think that's safe. I walked with Dave and there's a 2x4 sticking out of the ground with spiky screws sticking out of it, right level with your calf, just sticking out of the ground right there. And been there a while and no one takes care of it. That just really hits me at my core. I just think it's our resource. It's for anyone's safety. You wouldn't leave that sticking out of the ground. Vicky, you cleaned up those grills that were in the woods there. There's more on the other side.
where,
When you come down and you got them from the right over here, they're piled in the woods over there. So staff takes these things out that are rotted and they're metal and on cement and just chucks them into the woods.
oh, I took 2 out of the Puckies that we see. I didn't know there
Puckies
was
on
more.
others. I didn't see
Yeah.
it till we did the walk around. I never knew they were there. And then I came across them and
I
that
didn't
just
see 'em.
just breaks my heart. I mean, this is our resource. This is our, environment. This is our town's resource and we're trying to do something with it. And it's just gone downhill. I mean, there's just so much that needs to be done. The changing shed ramp is all rotted, the rotted plywood where they sit porta potties. We mentioned that last year, nothing was done. I just think there's just so many things that if I was a worker, like if there's a puddle on the floor in Hannaford and you're a worker, do you just go, oh yeah, it's too bad and wait for someone to wipe out on it? No, you get the floor sign, you get it cleaned up. So if you have these things that are dangerous and damaged, the little play sand pit for the kids was full of glass. And it's like, how do you miss that? The boards are all rotted off it. It had to just be torn apart. And I just think, their eyes on our park, their front line.
Well, I think to Dave's point of the daily look it over, kind of a thing would address some of that.
It does. Comments, past is past, but it's hard for me to wrap my mind around someone walking past that.
I understand that, that slide,
That's,
that
the
was-
biscuit ripper. Yep. That was like, how does someone let that stay like that? So that's my biggest concern is that maybe people who are working there have a better understanding of what danger is or isn't, or how to report it. If they need a number to call, an email to send it to. I did bring a device down there. Wi-Fi does work there. I worked with the town manager. They're hoping to do something. So I did that behind the scenes to try to help. And it does work in the mansion as well from the shack.
Okay.
So we're doing a lot as the committee, so we're looking at so many things. Some of these grants are difficult where you can't block off part of the park, say for just swimming. The public has to have access to the whole park if we're gonna get these grants. So that's something that I would encourage the town to work on. I mean, for us to lose a grant, that's huge that we could get, and we were told that we are in line to get it because of how bad the shape of the park is. One of the requirements is that they have access. And so unfettered access will be an issue. We can talk to them about whether it's, if it's 5 days a week, and that's okay, but that could be an issue with one of the grants we're looking at. This, the first one we're going for. That's quite sizable. That would cover stuff like the bathrooms and things like that, and better changing areas, and a better walking area, mitigating the water everywhere, and things like that. That's the whole point, is to make it safer, because we know that Hill's not safe. So that's basically my concerns. It's just like I keep hearing safety, and all the picnic benches up at the Y were fine. All the ones down at the water were not. Chips are spread up top, none spread down below where people use the park. And again, it's management of the whole park, not just the Y section is my understanding of the contract, or am I wrong?
That's why, another reason why I would consider creating a position.
I mean, there's
To
just,
look out for the town's best interest. Yes, they're providing us a service.
and I
but
don't
it's
want to see it go
obvious-
away, but I want better management.
It can't, but, okay, so
Yeah,
if everybody's spread thin and it doesn't happen,
right.
same thing with the fire state department. Things weren't happening. We needed more personnel.
Right.
So we went to the people and we got more personnel, and now things that couldn't get taken care of before because there wasn't enough
Right.
manpower are getting done.
Yep.
So-
That's where I hope this, because I mean, this isn't meant rudely either, but it's not the town's job to make sure the Y makes money. It's the town's job to protect our resource and our taxpayers.
Yep.
So to pay someone to use our property to our detriment, if they are making bank, would be crazy. But, you know, they have to figure out their finances and how it's going to work out for them. But it has to be fiscally responsible to the taxpayer. You know, we can't be like, oh, we got to make sure the Y is doing okay. That's not our responsibility. They have an awesome resource at their hands that if they worked hand in hand with us, it could be bigger. They could have more kids. They could have a better facility. They could be able to do more down there. But when you're not being told what's wrong, or this would help if this was over here, or this was cleared over here as we're doing these things, they could have more kids there and make money to keep their program going and keep regenerating Bungana and making it look nicer and better, in a better environment for the kids over there. But right now, it's gone flat, is my personal thought. So I'd love to see it revved up, engines going, greased up, looking good, safe for the kids. Not just the Y kids, but the whole public.
I think when it comes to the budget too, maybe we should consider some composite picnic tables rather than wood.
Yeah, it's bad. It's really bad.
I know, but they last longer.
They do.
Well, yeah, and they store flat, so they could go
Mhm.
right in the mansion, they could go in the mansion.
Yeah,
Just
end of
stacked
season.
up, then they're protected from the elements. They're gonna last longer.
So that's the biggest thing that I've had, you know, it's just like you go down there and it just blows your mind. But we're working to get everything together, and hopefully it all can work together cohesively. You know, we're willing to work and do things, but we feel a little deflated and let down. Thanks.
Thank you.
Anyone else have anything? Or do you good?
I'm good.
Everyone up here is good? Andy, are you good?
Yeah, very good.
Okay,
Yeah, understood.
all right. So you're gonna work on some language.
Yeah, I think I'll start drafting some stuff. It probably won't be the next meeting. It
Yeah.
might be the meeting after that. But,
Okay.
you know, and we can just, you know, I'll include Andy, we'll email you whatever I have. And
Perfect.
I think you guys as a board, you want to, on your agenda, so you'll start hashing that out.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you're welcome to come to any of those meetings. I'll just let
So
you
we
know.
need to let me know.
Yeah. But yeah, it's probably going to be, I'm sure we'll go back and forth a little bit, you know, to whittle it all down to how you guys want to see it.
Perfect.
You know.
So those are workshop meetings, correct?
Those would be regular board
Those are regular
meetings,
board meetings,
unless, like, if we start to get a little too in the weeds, sometimes we'll say, oh, I guess we need a workshop.
Yeah.
More like I usually say that and everybody goes, okay.
I'll basically come up with a draft and then
That's
they'll
fine.
talk about it at a meeting. And again, if they feel like they want
Go ahead, look at me.
Yeah.
I think we've had some beneficial workshops. I really do think they're helpful.
Yeah.
I love a good workshop, so.
If you could, Andy, while you're down there, putting your eyes on the picnic table,
Yeah.
moving those, is to put a count together on how many needs to be replaced,
Sure.
please.
Yep, and once again, I would offer the opportunity for other eyes to come down,
Mhm.
because what I think is repairable might not be what you consider repairable. And so I want to make sure that it's not just my evaluation. I'll give you that, knowing that I see, okay, there's only one board that's not good, or there's, this is just not worth keeping.
For budgeting purpose, especially down there, my thought
Consider. I mean,
is to
plenty of room.
replace everything. If we can repair it, that's a good thing, and we can, put the money back in the kitty.
Right.
But we need to budget for it.
Yeah.
That's my
I
thought.
will go down there myself and do a walkthrough. And I will also make sure that those tables are before we start.
Thank you.
I'll paint the new ones. I'm not gonna paint the old ones.
Right.
We're not gonna keep them.
Right.
Can't charge you money on something that's not gonna be.
Agreed.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay,
I don't make a motion to adjourn.
because we're not in a meeting.
So, can I also,
If it-
I know that this was mostly on this, but I also like to, I didn't know if it was open to discuss the Muscatala camp also. And that we had some opportunities to, I wanted to get a feel if there were any concerns or complaints about this year's usage over at Kennybunk Pond.
I don't think there's any concerns because it wasn't really a town thing, other than the part that had to go through the planning board. So Lindsay, I don't know if there's.
Well, it wasn't challenging because there were some, I guess, differences of usage and time of usage and number of people there.
Okay, yeah, I think that was from that's planning board, correct?
Yeah. I'm
Like, there was
not
nothing that
aware.
hits the select board, it was more the planning board because it happens at a private property. It's not a town-owned property.
It does.
So
This is
it
the
was-
concern of the
there was-
private owner who is concerned about the limitations that were set. And he feels that we should be,
Well,
Didn't-
so we take all our complaints in writing,
okay,
Yeah,
and he's welcome to address the code. I would start with the code officer, and he can if he has any concerns, he can go directly to the CEO, and she'll direct him, how she needs him to.
We've never
manage
made,
it.
we
Yeah,
never
that's-
voted on anything for that.
Yeah.
Personally, as a
so
board.
we handle the town-owned property, which is Bunganut. The Muscatala happens at a private property. The way the town is involved in that is through the planning board because he had to apply for a permit or.
Yeah.
Yeah,
something
yeah,
like that.
site
So
plan
that's
review.
not the select board, that's planning board and codes.
okay.
So-
But, so I guess my question to you then is you had not heard anything about any challenges that were addressed to us as being challenges, and the work that we did there did not conflict with any of the discussion at that point. You haven't heard any of that.
I haven't heard anything, but just so we're clear, so like the planning board, I think they already approved your site plan review application, so
They-
it's
yep.
just kind of
Okay.
like,
So it's a
it's
code.
between you and the property owner, I guess, at this point, because they've already made their,
Well, yes, but
Decision.
in that agreement, there were limitations to how many kids we could have there.
Oh.
And different than what we felt would be manageable, and limited us to 2 weeks of usage
Mhm.
compared to having the opportunity to have more expansion in that operating.
So what I recall at that planning board meeting was that if you wanted to expand, that you could submit again to the planning board, and the planning board would have another public hearing.
yeah.
Okay,
Sounds
I'm
about right.
asking questions about was there anything that was in conflict or challenged? So obviously.
Not to our
Nothing that
knowledge.
hit this committee because that's not our jam.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I would imagine that you would hear about it as being the town
I
manager.
haven't, but I also don't, if it's a codes, if it went directly through codes, I might not have, I don't get all the complaints through codes.
Okay,
I think sometimes the CEO is pretty good at just dealing with it or handling it, but I can tell you I have not heard anything.
Okay.
So,
I do have one more question for the four of you. any of you not receive Andy's email from July 19th inviting us to go and check out Camp
Muscatella.
Muscatine?
I feel like I knew about
I don't recall seeing it, but that's not uncommon. Sometimes I miss things.
I didn't even get it. And I don't know if that's a Brendan, like getting in touch, because I searched through and I have one email from Andy and it was October 23rd of last year. So I never got this
That's unfortunate, yeah.
because I was like, oh, I would have went to that.
I
But,
feel like I got.
I did, but I think it was by virtue of me being on the planning board at the time.
okay, yeah, I didn't.
I saw Andy send it
I'll have
to
to
all
go-
the
I'd
board
have to go
members.
into my
I didn't see
computer
any
and
of
look.
those emails.
Yeah,
It was from July 19th of this year?
yeah. Yeah, it's in the email
Okay.
packet that Lindsay had,
Yep.
because I was like, no, I didn't get that one. So, okay, I don't know. Why my,
Mine do it too.
you don't get certain things?
I don't get a lot of things, but then I complain about it, I go open it up and they show up.
Yeah, well, mine has,
No.
has two folders and one is,
Focused. and-
comes in
Focused, yeah.
focused and then other. And I have to go back through other sometimes and
Yeah, I didn't.
send it
You
back.
guys probably wondering what I missed.
I didn't get it. So
It's
I
okay.
would have went if we had got
Just
it.
ask a question, a request of the other board members. I sent out the notes I took at the ARP meeting. If you please take a look at that and see what other towns are doing, and maybe place on the agenda for the next meeting, what we may apply for in that Community Connections grant program that they have. Due date for that would be October 15th, but I believe that we'd be able to apply for something along those lines. I mean, get some ideas from what other towns are doing, maybe modify that. I intend to go to the MMA annual meeting as well. If you take a look at the agenda, if there's anything there that you'd like me to sit in on, please let me know in advance. That'll be Wednesday and Thursday this week. I plan on attending workshops on affordable housing, resources for affordable housing, an age-friendly communities program that's up there. And on the following day, land use and planning and housing. There are a number of things that I think folks in town would be interested in. I'll try to pick up any type of handouts for Matt DeRosa on some of the things, and also for Katrina Randall, because there is now a Maine State Cemetery Preservation Commission
Wow.
that is in place. And so I'm sure she'd be interested in that.
Awesome.
Thanks, Joe.
Mhm.
Okay,
Thank you, Andy. Yeah, thank you guys, appreciate it. Yeah.
end of the
I
work.
apologize for all that, breakdown the whole apology.
That declaration.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
And I recognize the